Hello, good evening and welcome to Tuesday evening yoga class. So we're going to start the class as always in corpse pose for an initial relaxation. So we're just going to lie on the back in corpse pose. Of the yoga postures to accomplish the heels out, soften the back into the mat 1 vertebra at a time, lengthening the back as long as you can. And tucking the chin just a little bit so that the back of the neck is nice and long. Shoulder blades in contact with the mat. Arms just far enough from the body that the palms can turn up comfortably, and then let go of all the tension in the legs so that the feet fall out to the sides. And there's no tension in the body. So normally we'll do long, slow, deep breathing in this position. So breathing in through the nostrils, feeling the air coming through the sinuses, down the windpipe, expanding the lungs. And then as the lungs expand and the belly rises. At the end of the inhale, soften the belly muscle of the spine and the breath flow out naturally. So breathing long and out through the nostrils. Noticing any sounds, any sensations, and any thoughts that arise. Just notice that they're there, and then bring your attention back onto your exhales. Long, slow, deep breaths in and out through the nostrils. So while we're lying corpse pose, we'll start doing a body scan. So bring your attention into the soles of the feet. You can wiggle your toes a little bit just to start a spark of energy. Bring your attention to your feet and then feel the sensations in your feet, and then allow your attention to travel up through the soles of the feet, through the arches, through the tops of the feet and into the ankles. Notice everything about your ankles, and then allow the sensation to flow up into your shins, into your calf muscles, into your knees, wrapping around the kneecaps, around the backs of the knees, strings, and then into the hips, flowing up into your lower belly, into your lower back, diaphragm, and into the rib cage. Bring your attention up the back of the ribs, up the sides of the ribs, up into the sternum bone, and then flowing up towards the collarbones. Bring your attention into your hands. Wiggle your fingers a little bit to start sparking through the elbows into the upper arms and into the shoulders. Bring your attention into the collarbones and then into the neck, of the throat. Bring your attention now up into the base of the skull, into the jaw, through the chin, through the mouth, through the nostrils, cheekbones, up into the ears, into the temples, wrapping around the back of the eyes, flowing up through the back of the head where you're in contact with the mat. And all that energy meeting, and feel the energy pouring slowly and gently out of the top of your head as you draw it in through the fingertips and in through the toes. Inhaling in the length of your body and pouring out on the exhale through the top of your head. Inhaling, drawing new fresh energy in. Exhaling, sending it out through the central spine of your torso. And then take a few more long, slow, deep breaths. On the next inhale, bring your head, arms in, stretch arms up overhead. On the exhale, bring the knee into the chest, hug around the shin, and draw the knee close down and flex the foot. And then rotate the foot a few times in each direction, clockwise and anti-clockwise. And point the toes, flex the foot, point the toes, flex the foot, and then take another full body stretch, taking that foot away, and then bring the other leg into the chest, hug around the shins. Drawing the front thigh close to the chest, flexing the foot strongly and pointing a few times, and then rotate the foot a few times in each direction, clockwise and anti-clockwise. And then take another full body stretch, arms up overhead, pointing out through the fingertips, pointing out through the toes. On the exhale, bring both knees into the chest, hug around the shins. Shoulder blades down, away from the ears, shoulders away from the ears, elbows pointing towards your heels, pointing out the toes, and then draw some small circles on the mat with your lower back, a few in each direction. You're going to release the left foot, take the left foot to the floor, knee bent, knee pointing up, and hugging the right leg a bit closer. Then we're going to take hold with the right hand to the inside of the right instep and bring the lower leg vertical so that the heel is above the knee. And then you can slide the left heel away. If it's comfortable, you can hover the foot an inch or so from the floor. And then we're going to draw down strongly against that right heel, bring the right knee down past the outside of the rib cage on the right side, still keeping both the hips on the floor. So, inhale to push with the heel, exhale to soften the leg and draw the knee lower. Inhale to push with the heel against the hand, exhale to soften the leg and draw lower. And then bring both knees into the chest and give them a hug, and then reach down with the left hand inside to the left instep, take the right foot to the floor as you take the left heel vertical above the left knee. Slide the right heel away and repeat the exercise on the opposite side. So you can hover that foot 1 inch if you like from the mat. Exhale to soften the leg, inhale to push the hand into the, push the heel into the hand. Exhale to soften, inhale to push. Exhale to soften, inhale to push. So dynamic stretch and relaxation. Tension and relaxation with the inhale and the exhale. And then bringing both legs in, taking hold with both heels and full happy baby pose. So if you get the sacrum bone as close to the mat as you can, so you'll likely find that the pelvis tries to come up, if possible, and drawing both knees down. And then hug both knees into the chest again. This time we're going to take the head and shoulders off the mat, take the forehead to the knees, and then inhale as you lie back, taking the feet to the floor, hip width. So we're going to take the arms out to shoulder height if you have the space. If you don't have space, just bring the hands to the elbows, sorry, the hands to the shoulders and the elbows out to shoulder height. And we're coming to our belly twist. So stacking the feet together, bring the feet together, and as the knees go right, the left foot will stack on top of the right. We're pressing both elbows into the floor, both forearms into the floor if you have the arms extended, and pressing with the left knee into the right, just want that train to go past. Inhaling to soften, exhale to push. Inhale to soften, exhale to push. And then inhale, bring the knees upright, and then we're going to take the knees. If you like to, you can turn the head to look right towards the right elbow if you have the arms bent. So pushing into the right elbow particularly, and pushing the right knee. We're getting a nice stretch in the front of the hip here, through the psoas muscle. Working with the breath to soften any tight areas in the hips. You can do the little hip wiggles if you like, just to find out where it's at its tightest. And then inhale, knees come upright, bring both knees into the chest once more, head and shoulders off the mat, forward to knees, pointing out the toes, shoulders down away from the ears, elbows coming towards the heels, and then coming back on the floor. So take the knees out to the side in the butterfly, going up overhead, and then we're going to work in a sit-up. So gradually increasing the pace until you get a bit of momentum, and eventually bring yourself up to a seated position in Baddha Konasana, or bound angle pose. So from here we're just going to hold the ankles, butterfly the knees, pulling the heels back towards the sit bones, and just work on pushing the small of the back through towards the belly button, getting the spine nice up nice and straight. And then bring the knees together, give them a hug. Take the hands to the floor and push yourself up onto your feet. So we're going to go through Surya Namaskar, the sun salutations. So as you know, we start in Tadasana mountain pose, and the outside edges of the feet parallel. That's easier for guys than it is for ladies, or you can have the middle toes in line with the crest of the hips. That's slightly easier. So standing in Tadasana, we're gripping the mat with a rotational grip in the feet and engaging the belly muscles and the core slightly, so the spine is upright and straight and the upper arms are slightly outwardly rotated, so the shoulder blades are pressing into the back ribs, pushing the chest forward, widening out the shoulder girdle. Arms hang loosely from this nice wide shoulder girdle, head is upright. So just using the minimum tension you need to hold you in this standing position. And then we'll bring the hands together in prayer, just in front of the Swadhisthana or the Dantian. And then inhale, we're coming to our first gentle standing back bend. So as the arms come up past horizontal, please take care not to hug the shoulders up around the ears. We're leading the little finger edge of the to bring the thumbnails above the eyes. So coming to a gentle standing back bend. If you want to, you can back bend a little bit more deeply if you're warmed up already. And then on the exhale, we're going to straighten up the torso, the hands come past the face in prayer to the heart centre. And then we're going to forward fold, taking the hips back as we fold forward, with a flat back and straight legs. And listening to what your feet are telling you. And then we come all the way into the forward fold. So once you're folded as far forward as your hamstrings will let you, then you bend the knees, the belly comes onto the front thighs, the hands come to the floor, plant the hands, push into the palms and look back towards the knees. So then we're going to take a very strong push into the mat with the palms so that we can release the right foot and come back to this long lunge with the back foot to the back right corner of the mat, and then start, instead of pushing, we're now pulling the mat towards us through the back of the knee to stretch the front of the right hip. And then flatten the back, take the weight into the hands and the back foot, so you can release the left foot and come into Kumbhakasana, where you hold the breath. And then when you can't hold the breath any longer, you exhale, roll forward on the toes, bring the knees down, and then push into the hands so that the elbows come to the side ribs, and then chest and chin come down together. Slide the feet back a little bit, and we're in a Ashtanga Namaskar, the 8-point pose. And then pulling the hands towards us to bring the chest up. So this is just a back lift, there's no weight in the back, in the hands. We're just resting on the mat, or even just pulling the mat towards us to get the shoulders back. Just a back lift with the back muscles. And if you want to, optional, for a bit of a carrying into the mat, pulling rather than pushing. And then on the exhale, we're going to come down with the chin on the mat, push into the knees, elevate the hips, and come through a half push up to come into our first downward facing dog. So tuck the toes, push the sit bones back towards the heels, make sure the palms are nice and flat, fingers spread to get lots of grip, and then start working the tailbone up into the apex of an inverted V. Once you're in your down dog, walk the heels out a little bit, sway the hips from side to side a little bit. And then on the next inhale, we're going to take the left leg up behind in a three-legged dog. So pushing into the heel of the right palm to get the tip of the left toe as far as you can from the left wrist, whilst trying to avoid the hip popping up. So we're trying to avoid the left hip coming up to the left, trying to keep the hips parallel to the floor. And then on the exhale, we're going to bend the knee and then come up to the toes of the left foot, start ripping the spine up towards the ceiling as the foot travels forward. Plant it where it comes to without the palms lifting, and then take the right hand behind the right ankle, left shoulder over the left wrist, give the right foot a helping hand forward and bring the right hand back to your marker position. Sink the hips so they're parallel again, and again you're pulling the mat towards you, pushing down to the right heel, pushing up through the back of the left knee, chest up, chest forward, gaze up, equestrian pose, Asana. Now coming out of here, we're going to straighten the back out again, and then push down more into the heels of the palms, push off the back toes to bring the knees together, and then plant the feet in the starting point here, so you need to come back to where they're going to be in Tadasana. On the inhale, come into a half stance. Forward is optional. I like to do it because it's kind of an opening movement, but you see people practicing with the hands pointing back as well, but I prefer hands pointing forward, but it's optional, just a matter of choice. On the exhale, rotate, bending the knees a lot, hands back to marker position, head back to the knees, push into the palms to raise the hips. And then on the inhale, we bring the front thighs parallel to the floor, and the arms can either come ahead in a chair, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears, or rest the hands on the front thighs to come up to standing with a flat back, and then come all the way back, again without the shoulders hunching up around the ears, back into your hips should be pretty much above the knees and above the ankles, and all the curve is in the back. So those back muscles used in cobra are also supporting your Hatha. Bringing the torso nice and upright, and then separating the hands and coming back to Tadasana mountain pose. Let's do that again on the left side, so bring the hands. Gentle standing back bend or quite a big standing back bend, that's your choice. Straighten up the torso, hands come past the face in prayer to the heart centre, and forward fold, taking the hips back as we fold forward with flat back and straight legs, hinging at the hips, hinging at the ankles. And then once you can't bend any further forward with flat back and straight legs, then bend the knees, belly comes onto the front thighs, plant the hands, look back towards the knees. And then as the head's coming down, you're pushing more into the heels of the palms. So there's kind of a, so just bring the head down, brings more pressure into the heels of the palms. But you continue that going by pushing into the heels of the palms, so you release that left foot. Then come back to your Asana, equestrian pose. So once the foot's planted, then you change the direction and pull on the mat with the hands, and you're pulling forward, you're pulling the mat back towards you, rather, to bring the chest forward and the gaze up. And then flatten the back into a straight line. So you probably felt you're releasing pressure out of the right front thigh as you did that. So here you've got some tension in the right front thigh. As you flatten the back, you can release that as you take the weight from the foot into the right hand. And then pushing into the heels of the palms, all the weight's now out of the front thigh, Glucosamine. Okay, so we're now going to roll forward on the toes, bring the knees down on the exhale. Keep the exhale going as you bring the chest and chin down together. Release the toes, inhale, slide the chest forward, Bhujangasana, and then on the exhale, pushing into the knees, elevate the hips, tuck the toes, half push up, back towards your second downward facing dog, and this time it's left leg up behind. So if you found you didn't get the foot as far forward as you wanted to on the step through, then what you can do is slide the right foot forward, half a foot length or a full foot length, to give you a shorter space to step into, and then pointing out the left toes, the left leg comes up behind three-legged dog. So pushing into the left wrist, coming up into the toes of the right foot, and then bending the left knee, keeping the knee high, and then onto the toes of the right foot, pushing up through the hip, and then ripping the spine, bringing that movement into the lower back, then the middle back, then the upper back, as you push the chest up towards the ceiling, or the back of the heart space up towards the ceiling, and then kick that foot forward as far as it'll go without the palms lifting. If you slid the foot forward, slide it back now so you can sink, and also pulling into the hands to bring a back bend to the spine, chest up, gaze up. And then pushing off the back toes, pushing down to the heels of the palms, knees together, plant the feet in Tadasana position, starting position, and then inhaling, half standing forward bend, flat back and straight legs. So if you don't reach the floor with flat back and straight legs, fine, take the hands up the outsides of the legs until and then exhale a lot, head to the knees, push into the heels of the palms to bring the hips up. So the legs might not straighten, especially at this point in the practice, doesn't really matter. Pulling the hands towards you, pulling the mat back towards you, and coming into your half standing forward bend. Standing forward bend, inhale. Through a chair and up to standing, or hands on the front thighs to support you, your choice. then into a standing back bend, then back to Tadasana mountain pose. Okay, we're going to run through that. We're going to, as we come out of Equestrian, we'll come into some warrior as well. So let's see how that goes. So inhaling, exhaling, forward fold, flat back, straight legs, plant hands, look to the knees, step back with the right leg long lunge. Inhale, pulling them back towards you, Equestrian pose. Retain the breath and come back to a plank. On the inhaling into a cobra, and then exhaling, pushing into the knees, tucking the toes and coming through a half push up into a downward facing dog. Step forward if you need to. Inhale, right leg high, three-legged dog, and then onto the toes, the legs and toes in line, helping hand if you need to, slide the foot back if you need to, and then mat, pull the mat towards you and come up onto the fingertips, and then push into the right heel, bring the hands together and come into a warrior one. So we're bringing the torso into a standing back bend like we did for Hatha. The legs are in a straddle, and then we're going to straighten up the torso and then turn the torso out so that your shoulders, if you draw a line between your heels, your shoulders will be on that line. And then we separate the hands, separate the arms, so the arms are now also on that line. Hands parallel to the floor, arms parallel to the floor, middle fingers pointing forward and backwards, and then turn just the head to look down the length of the right arm. I'm going to turn that front palm up and then hinging at the hips, keeping the arms in that 4.5 position. The left knee, you can start scooping the right hand up above the face, sun warrior, and then we're going to windmill the arms all the way over. Our Equestrian pose, so coming off the heel as you bring the hands down, and then pushing into the palms, bring the knees together, half standing forward bend. Exhale, standing forward bend. Inhale, through a chair up, standing, and back to Tadasana. Straight through, inhale. Exhale, forward fold, flat back, straight legs, plant the hands, look to the knees, inhale, step back with the left leg long lunge. Pull the mat towards your Equestrian pose, flatten out the back, release the right foot, Kumbhakasana breath retention posture. Exhaling, lower down, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, into a baby cobra, Bhujangasana. Exhale, pushing to the knees, elevating the hips, pushing through half push up, into forward, between the hands, helping hand if you need to. Step the foot slightly out to the right, ground the right heel, and coming up onto the fingertips, and then inhale, hands together, all the way up overhead. So notice the stance, the back leg is straight, you're pushing out through the back of the right knee, kind of rotating it, and then straighten up the torso, turn the torso, so the shoulders are on a line above the heels, arms spread, tucking the tailbone slightly, and then look along the length of the left arm. Turning the left palm, coming into sun warrior, and then windmill the arms all the way over. Plant them either side of the front foot, off the back heel. Equestrian, half standing forward bend, standing forward bend, through a chair and up to standing. Shoulders relaxed. Straighten up the torso, hands past the face in prayer, heart center. Tadasana with Anjali Mudra. And then release into Tadasana mountain pose. So as you come into Tadasana, you should be getting that rotational grip on the mat with your feet and pulling yourself upright and softening from the top down, feeling to this posture. Just like when we did Shavasana, just enough tension, which was none at all, to hold you in that position. Here you have a little bit of tension in the belly muscles and a little bit in the outward rotation of the upper arms, maybe a tiny bit in the neck, but that's pretty much it. Okay, so we're going to release Tadasana now and come into our asanas. So today we're going to start with a warrior 3 posture. I'm going to take the mat which has got the board underneath it because the other mats are really squashy. So I'm going to come over to this one, which I've got. I'm going to start at near the front of the mat. To shift the weight into the right foot, take the left toes to the floor, heel off the floor, and step back into a warrior 1 straddle. So from here, hips square to the front, take the hands to the front thigh, and then using the hands to support you, bring the torso forward until you have the torso parallel with the floor, and you're looking down to the mat underneath your face. From here we're going to push off the back toes until we come to a balance, pushing down now more strongly into the sole of the right foot until we can find the balance, using the left leg as a counterbalance for the torso. So you can now start straightening and pointing out the toes. If you're comfortable and balanced, you can bring the arms out ahead of you, biceps level with the ears, warrior 3. And then bring the hands back to the front thigh, bring the foot back to, and come up to standing. We'll try that on the other side also. So we're going to step back with the right foot. The board's not as wide as the mat, so I've got to not quite take quite as wide a stance as I'd like to, but it still works. Okay, so hopefully you've got a solid floor underneath yours, not gym mats. Okay, so we're going to slide forward, bring the torso horizontal to the floor, and then pushing off the back toes, pushing the, so hands are quite firmly on the front thigh here, without the hip popping up. So, oops. With the toes pointed and balanced on that left leg, you can now work on bringing the arms out ahead of you and maybe straighten the sporting leg a little bit more. Hand back to the front thigh, bend the knee, come up the foot and come back up to standing. Probably found a little bit of a tension in the upper thigh now, so you can wiggle out the hips to loosen them up a bit. Excellent. And that was warrior 3. So that's sometimes, so I showed you warrior 1, warrior 2. So sometimes instead of going to some warrior, what we'll do, I'll just show you this, you can try it if you like. So let's say we've come from warrior 1 to warrior 2, and then instead of this arm stopping at the back, we keep it coming down and under as we again bring the hips parallel to the short edge of the mat, this warrior 3 posture. Okay, so you can try that if you like to. I'm going to put this video on, I'm going to save the video on the Facebook feed, so if you want to go back and do some of this in your own time again, then please feel free to do that. Okay, so let's move on. Where have we got to? Okay, so I'm going to look at a side body posture. So this is, we didn't do very many belly twists today, we did a few. Okay, we're going to do a side body posture anyway. So we're going to do the twisting chair. So you remember as we came out of the sun salutation sequence, I said you can either come through a chair and up to standing or hands on the front thighs. And you still can. However, if you're going to do the twisting chair, we're going to take the arms ahead in the chair. So get the front thighs about parallel to the floor, if you can, or as close as you can. Arms ahead of you in the chair. Shoulders are relaxed down away from the ears. And we're in this kind of a squat position. So the twisting chair, we're going to bring the hands to the elbow, the right elbows to the outside of the left knee, and keep the left arm going. And try and follow that with the gaze. So we're looking up to the left. And then on the exhale, hand comes back down. Then we do the opposite side, left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And just keep that going in your own time until you find the front thighs are burning and you need to come out of the position. Okay, so that was twisting chair, Katasana Paravita. Let's have a look at a strengthening posture now. So a ballet bar, which means I can have a grip on both hands. Today I'm going to use the tent pole, using the edge of a sink or the edge of a bath or a banister rail, or get a door and get one hand, an open door, one hand on the handle either side to do this, especially for the lower back. And we start off by taking a straight leg right angle forward fold. So, and if you've got an edge, you can have the arms at shoulder width. And we have the torso right angle. So from here we can slide the feet forward. I'm not going to put all my weight into this one. And then keeping the torso straight from the tailbone to the wrists, we can bend into the knees, keeping that line on the back. So inhaling up and down. And what we do is we're using the weight in the hips to pull the vertebrae in the spine apart. So the vertebrae in the spine are like these bones which can rotate a little bit, and they've got these pads of they're called discs in between, which are like compressible fluid filled discs, just waiting for the train to go past. So and there's a shiny surface on the outside of the bone called cartilage, and inside the cartilage is made up of 95% cartilage fibres, 5% the cells that make the cartilage. There's no nerve supply, there's no blood supply, so all of the oxygen, all the nutrient reaches there by diffusion. And if you do this pumping action, you're drawing more oxygen into the fluid sacs, and you're providing more nutrients to the cells, which build. You're less prone to slip discs, and so what we're trying to aim at here is this position where we're using the weight of the hips to draw out the length of the spine, lengthening and opening the spine. So I'd recommend you do this exercise for 30 seconds a day, something like that, every day. Find a place where you live where it's convenient to do this. Like I say, edge of a kitchen sink or edge of a bath or a pair of door handles. And then once you've done your 30 seconds, you can come up to standing. But I would recommend this exercise. I'd recommend that you take, and you can also get that with Chondratin. If you're vegetarian, there are ones which are made out of seaweed, which is like more expensive. If you're not vegetarian, then the one that you get is made out of the shells of shellfish, or the hard shiny surface on the inside of the shells of shellfish. So usually it's from farmed mussels. So this supplement comes in 3 formulas. You can get it in a 24-hour release, a 12-hour release, or an 8-hour release. So if you get it in 24-hour release, obviously you just take one a day, and it breaks down over the course of 24 hours. If you get an 8-hour supplement, then you take it, sorry, a 12-hour one, you take it 7 in the morning, 7 in the evening, or something like that. And then if you have an 8-hour one, you take it morning, noon and night. So that it means that there's always this material available to your body, not just after meals. So that when you do this exercise, the bone and the joint health, rather than it being a bit more of a random thing. So if you have this supplement, then it means that you've always got this nutrient inside your body, not just after meals. So I'd recommend you take it. There's good scientific evidence that it doesn't actually work. That's mainly because the placebo, 5% placebo effect, 11% effect, which is due to the clinical trial. So because the placebo effect is so high in relation to the actual measurable effect, they kind of say, well, you can't prove anything statistically with that. In fact, 11% would be, wow, that's brilliant. So I recommend you try it, and you do it as part of your routine to improve your flexibility and your strength, particularly in the joints. Okay, lecture's over, and we're going to go into the next exercise, which is just a little bit of fun. So please, for this one, make sure you have space around your mat, and I don't want anyone to practice this to such an extent that they actually come all the way up and over. But this is the kick up to a handstand. So this is the preparatory exercise that we do when we're working up towards handstand. We're not going to do handstand today. We're certainly not going to do handstand as an online teaching, but we can do the initial exercise providing you have space around your mat. So please also make sure that no one's going to walk behind you. So just make sure that everyone knows that you're going to be doing this exercise and they're not to be behind you. Okay, so we take a downward facing dog position, and then a three-legged dog position. I need to change position actually because I'm kind of like, yeah, let's take this mat instead. Okay, so from a three-legged dog position here, then we're supporting the right heel as well as hopping off the left foot. So we're working on getting some weight up above. Might want to tuck your shirt in if it's not tucked in already. Okay, let's try that again. Working on without coming up all the way, so we're not coming up into a full handstand. Keeping the left leg no more than about 90 degrees from the mat, so that you can always come back down again and don't come all the way up and over. Don't want anyone crashing over. Okay, so we try that again on the other side. So left leg up behind, push and kicking up. Okay, I'm again. And just experiment with getting the feeling of bringing some of the weight into the shoulders and getting ready for when we eventually do the handstand. And workshop, please ask me. Happy to assist with that one. Okay. We're even in the gym before class on Mondays and Tuesdays. Okay, let's look at the next one we're going to do. So I want to look at the upward facing dog in some detail. So this is a position which people can get wrong and which we want to avoid that if at all possible. The key to this posture is in this rotational grip on the mat. So if there was no friction on the mat, the right hand would be turning clockwise, the left hand would be turning anti-clockwise. Because there's a grip on the mat, they don't move, but you're gripping with the base of the index finger knuckle, outside edge of the heel of the palm. Palms are nice and flat and fingers spread. So to do upward facing dog, you really need to have this grip. Okay, so we're going to come first of all into a straight line plank with that grip on the mat, and then on the exhale we're going to lower down, bring the, and then from here, so the idea of that out of the wrists and out of the shoulders. So I'll show you that from the side. So from here, if I'm going to step over the toes first, and then as I bring the belly down, because I'm really rotating the shoulder blades into the back ribs, I'm lifting up this way. If I was doing it badly, I'd be collapsing into the lower back. Okay, so this is what we want to avoid in up dog. So the palms are nice and flat, you've got this grip and you're lifting up, getting the chest up, the gaze up, bringing most of the curve, or a lot of the curve into the upper back, and keeping most of the curve out of the lower back, which is where you'll be vulnerable to being injured if you don't do it properly. So let's try that again. So with this grip, really rotating the hands into the mat, chest up, gaze up, pushing to the tops of the feet, and not collapsing. I'll just show you how to do it badly once more. So that would be shoulders up around the ears and just hanging into the shoulders. So it's really a lift up out of the arms. And then sit back on your heels and come into an extended child's pose as a counter posture. Just hold child's pose for about a minute, easing out the lower back. And then when you're ready, sitting back on your heels. Okay, we're going to come into a bridge and or wheel posture now. So have the feet hip width, knees bent, sit bones quite near to the heels and the back on the mat. So rolling bridge, generally we have the arms in beside us, palms in beside and palms facing down, and then pulling the mat towards you would be with with the sacrum bone, the pelvis, the lower back, the middle back, and then the upper back until we have a straight line. As we develop this, we can push up a little bit further, push back further onto the shoulders to get more of a curve into the back, head, and then we lower back down. Okay, so if you are only comfortable with rolling bridge, then just do rolling bridge. You don't have to come into the full chakra. Try the wheel, then take the feet slightly further apart so they're nearly out to mat width, and then with the arms up overhead, we're going to draw the arms elbows high, pointing up towards the sky, fingertips touching the collarbones, and then turn the palms so that the wrists are facing backwards and the fingertips are pointing towards your collarbones. So then from here we come into the bridge posture again, coming all the way up. Okay, and then take some weight into the palms of the hands, and then just rest back down and look this way again. So one other thing I want to stress is that when you come into Chakrasana, you shouldn't ever be resting the top of your head on the mat. So you either come into your shoulders or all the way up. You shouldn't be taking weight through the neck. Shouldn't be taking any body weight through the neck at any point in this posture. So with the arms overhead and the fingertips against the collarbones, we can push into the hands and lift up Asana, the wheel. And you can do some reverse push-ups if you want to. And then onto the shoulders and not down to the top of the head. Ripping back down, upper back, middle back, lower back, pelvis sacrum, rest in this reclined posture. Okay, so that was Chakrasana with the wheel. Have another go with that in your own time if you wish to. So again, I'll just talk you through it. So feet out to mat width, arms up over hands, and then ripple the spine off the mat. Nice and tense through the front thighs, pushing into the palms of the hands to lift up, tucking the head as you come back down onto the shoulders. Okay, so let's do now a seated posture. Let's do Asana. I think we've done it recently, but it bears repeating. So if you have a block or a stack of books, it's easier if you have your sit bones elevated on those blocks. So we're going to start with the leg extended and the inner thigh, sole of the foot. If you need to, you can prop the bent knee with more blocks or with more books or something. So this takes a little bit of pressure off the knee joint. If you're feeling pain here, and also propping the knee with whatever you have to hand, blocks, books, rucksack, something like that. So we're going to sit up nice and tall, just resting the hands on the ankle. Again, make sure, if you have pain here in the meniscus, make sure you have this foot very strongly flexed. Inhale to sit up tall, exhale to forward fold. Inhale to sit up tall, exhale to forward fold. So at this point we're pushing down through the back of the right heel, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. So I've already got to where I'm going to come to today. It must be quite stiff in the lower back today. So once you get there, you can make some small movements if you want to work around the edge. And just keep working in that position with the breath, inhaling to take the gaze forward, out and up, exhaling. Allowing yourself to soften at the hips, hinging with a flat back. Inhaling and exhaling. Just working gradually into the forward fold. So you might only go a millimetre further forward each time you take a breath. That's absolutely fine. Don't push it, don't force it, don't rush it. Work with the breath to get yourself slowly increasing into the forward fold. So I can feel already that I'm softening into this a little bit more. And again, it's only a few millimetres each time, but that's enough. Flat back, working the edge with the breath, at least 5 breaths is better. You can circle the belly button a few times in each direction, almost like doing hip circles, just really tiny in this position. So just request them to give a little bit more and let you fold forward a little bit more. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Each inhale you take the gaze forward, out and up. Chest comes up. Each exhale you soften at the hips and see if that takes you a millimetre further forward into the flat back forward fold without taking the curve in the back. So we're not rounding down. The point isn't to get the face towards the floor at this point. It's to ease out the lower back and soften at the hips. Inhaling and exhaling. Okay, once you have gone as far as you can though, the other thing you can do if you want to is take the arms up overhead, give yourself a little bit more lever first, and then work back into it. And then eventually, once you've got all the stretch out of the lower back that you can, then we're going to round down, taking the head towards the floor. So you can also do this posture over the outstretched leg, and it's actually called Genesis Asana, which means nose to knee pose. Posture towards the extended leg, but it's perfectly okay to do it between the angle of the knees. And you probably find it also helps you keep pressing down through the back of the heel and through the back of the knee to do it this way sometimes. But whichever way suits you best today. Breathing into the back of the ribs, softening forward, inhaling and exhaling, inhaling and exhaling. So as you exhale, we're trying to take the nose further forward along the leg or between the angle of the knees. And then eventually sitting up nice and tall, taking the hands behind you 6 to 8 inches, pushing the chest up towards the ceiling. At this point, please avoid throwing the head all the way back. So not this position, but space at the back of the neck and lifting up with leading with the throat out of the shoulders. And you can bring some curve into the upper back, middle back and lower back, maybe even elevate, and then come back to the seated position. And we'll change sides. So bring the knee upright, extend the leg out to bend the leg which was extended, and sole to inner thigh. And again, if you need to, prop the knee with a block or 2 blocks, stack of books, rucksack, whatever you have to hand, flexing that foot strongly if you're getting any pain here in the inside of the knee. Even if it's not a strong sensation, just if you can feel something going on there which doesn't feel great, then flex this foot very strongly. In fact, flex it anyway, just to protect yourself. So sitting up nice and tall, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, tall, exhale, forward fold. So having the hips on the block really does help to tip you forwards. You might find your side or more flexible on this side than you were on the other side. But in any case, we're working with a flat back and working on that forward fold. Inhale, gaze forward, out and up. Exhale, hinging at the hips. Inhaling and exhaling. If the hamstring starts to lengthen, you can walk that heel away a little bit. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. So then once you've found your edge and you've worked the edge for a full 5 breaths at least, then you can round down, taking the head to the mat in the centre of the knees or over the outstretched leg. Use the arms for leverage if you want to. and then fold forward when you're ready. In the forward fold, we're breathing into the back of the ribs, exhaling, softening forward, taking the head further forward along the thigh. Just keep working into the forward fold. Sit up tall and take the hands behind 6 to 8 inches. Start pushing the chest up towards the ceiling. Again, please avoid throwing the head all the way back. Keep space at the back of the neck, and then the middle back, then the lower back, and eventually, if you want to, you can elevate the hips. Before then, coming back onto them. So we're going to come into our final relaxation. Them out of the way. Take the feet to the front corners of the mat and soften the back into the mat, one vertebra at a time. Resting the head on the mat, tucking the chin slightly, walking the shoulder blades away from each other so that they're nice and wide, and letting go of all the tension in the legs so the feet fall out to the side. And this time just breathing at your own pace, just releasing all the postures, and noticing how your body's feeling after the practice. Goes in, and as it flows out, in through the nostrils and out through the nostrils. Just relaxing. Just being here and now in the present moment. Take 3 more long, slow, deep breaths. Enjoying each one. And then in your own time, push yourself up to a comfortable seated cross-leg position at the front of your mat, eyes closed or soft, and backs of the hands resting on the knees, forefinger and thumb connected in Gyan Mudra meditation posture. Spine nice and upright. Balancing on the sit bones. Just becoming aware of everything around you. Softening your face, softening the jaw. Softening the shoulders. Of any tension in the thighs or around the hips. And then bring the hands together in prayer at the full level, ready for our final ritual, the closing ritual. Before the commencement. Spreading the arms out high and wide, the truth is like. Inhale, gathering it back up. The experience is like this. Seal it between your palms. Hands past the face in prayer. Relax at the shoulders, relax your face. Nice and upright. And then release the hands to the knees. And you can blink the eyes open and make whatever small movements you need to start easing out the body at the end of your practice. Thank you so much for attending. If you enjoyed the class, please leave a like. In any case, please leave a like or a comment or something so I know who was here. And I'll be teaching again, hopefully here again next month. till 8:30, and again next Tuesday at 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Same as my classes at St Pancras Square, at Pancras Square Leisure. So until then, I'll see you online in the gap and back in class when we can. Namaste.